chilling.
Chilling. It's just chills down the spine.
It was good to be back at the G and hear the siren at the G again and the D's fans.
It was a good to get a win.
Yes, it was.
Back on the winners list. Hey, first though, we got new t-shirts.
We do. Matchy.
If you want one of these, you can't have one.
That was when you went to the change room. So during the week, we shared that of you going down to get a jumper signed with Max Gordon.
Yeah.
And straight onto Facebook, immediately after you come out, can I get a jumper for my great-grand first removed auntie's cousin from the other family?
Yeah.
Nah.
You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to walk in there and get signatures off the players. That's why I was a little bit sort of...
You're not.
Well,
you can do anything, though. You're Hollywood.
Yeah, true. I am Hollywood. Hey, welcome to a very Melbourne podcast. Great to be back. Last week was epically good, we thought. I don't know what everybody else thought, but I just loved listening to Jason Taylor and his plans for the future and also the current day list. Wasn't it good?
It was really, really good. It was really interesting to hear the fact that he'd built a list going into that 2021 grand final of people that were outside the 29s, the 30s, the 31s.
Yeah.
So good. And what he looks for in young kids.
Yeah. So informative. And for you being West Coast / Melbourne supporter, for your club too, and Harley Reid and what he was able to put together on the weekend, it just must mean it was a real eye-opener for me because I'm working with kids now and the questions are always asked. I mean, how do you do this? What's the pathway? What do I need to work on? And really, I'm not going to give anything away. You got to go back and watch it.
Yeah, go watch it because he gives advice on what to do, and we can even cut that segment up if people are interested. But really good for the kids to have a look at.
That's right. Hello to you out there in Facebook if you're watching right now.
Facebook's working this week.
Sylvia's there, Gary's there, the same old Barry's how are you, mate? I tell you what, you guys, we've got a treat for you this week coming up after about 10-15 minutes. We've got the great man Stephen Tingay.
Very exciting.
A guy that conjures up such great memories for all the Melbourne supporters, I'm sure. Stinger, one of my very, very great mates. He's actually in the studio right now. He's listening to what I'm saying. Ruth's in Belfast Island.
Oh, wow.
Well, hello to
That's
you.
Pretty early in the morning.
Fiddle-de-dee potatoes. What else, Davo? What did you like mostly about the MCG? What was the best thing about the game? The game itself that we won. We kicked goals.
You know what? The best thing was following you around.
Yep.
So I got to go down underneath the stadium to see where you go and hang out and why you hang out down there.
Yeah, but why did you have to look like a Norwegian or a Scandinavian backpacker?
Okay, so true story, right? What was it? It was 35 degrees or something that day.
Yeah.
And I'm from WA. I don't like shoes.
Yeah, but you didn't have to wear Birkenstocks.
So, well, they're comfortable once you get used to them. So I was wearing Birkenstocks and I did have like a backpack and I had like a main t-shirt. I looked like a European backpacker and I felt a little bit like a European backpacker. And I was standing on the edge of the ground just going, oh, I don't feel it. At least everyone looked at me and goes, that guy must be from Sweden.
Yeah, he doesn't know what he's doing.
He doesn't know what he's doing
This game's foreign to him. But I liked it because it looked like I had someone follow me around filming me and made me look a little bit more important.
I didn't film anything. I just followed you around for your ego. So you got to feel what it was like. But we got some really good footage, actually.
We did.
Down the ground, seeing you run, seeing you go down and eat pies. But we'll share some of those things later.
Yes.
We did. You know what I did love? Actually, you know what I don't know if I can do this or not, but I'll see if I can quickly pull it up because this is the memory that I have from the weekend and it's probably not a great one.
Decision that he doesn't have one. Let's go upstairs to ensure that nothing actually happened. Review complete. Inconclusive evidence.
Like, honestly, did you see, like, what the hell?
Yeah, there was
the umpire wasn't making any decisions.
No. They're too scared to make decisions anymore, Dave. That's the world we live in.
But they made a decision that wasn't over the line, that Melbourne was about to clear, and then they made them.
It slowed the game down.
Nothing happened, and they balled it up. Balled it up?
That'll do. They balls it up.
They ballsed it up.
Right up.
And they bounced the ball. They probably threw it up. Come on, Dave. What is wrong with you?
You've had too many whiskeys.
Hey, I'm on the Nonesuch gin, actually, because you never get me gin. So I had to get my own from Nonesuch. No. And they put it right at the top of the square.
They did.
Did you guys see that?
Yeah. I might have missed a few of those, given that I'm sort of running around underneath the ground and getting ready for the next thing, which you saw a lot of. But yes, I agree with you. There were, on reflection, a couple of times I'm going, what's going on here? It was clearly out of bounds there. What they go? Come on, you've got to start making some decisions here. You've got to put yourself out there, because 20 years ago, what were they doing? They were just going, well, that's definitively what it is. So maybe they're told by the AFL, look, if it's just a little bit in doubt, go for because we want to create some drama around this, but it slows the game down.
But it's got to be like, you got to, like, for one that's going over the point, like you can't, like, if the play is playing on, it just feels weird to go back.
Well, the crowd just straight away booze.
Especially when it's a point. Like, if it's nearly going to be a goal and everything stops, you go, okay, review it. But for a point,
the crowd straight away boos as soon as there's a review. You get it into cricket, they're always doing this one, we'll review it, and it slows it down horrendously. That's cricket.
For game days. They got plenty of time.
It's like
a helmet.
Yes. Gus, we want to talk about Angus really quickly, because and a shout out to the Demon Army. Well done, guys. For a really a good visual, I would have thought. They've gone and purchased all of these helmets, and we've got one in the studio here today. We picked one up at the game. Everyone in the Demon Army, the Melbourne Cheer Squad, was wearing a helmet for our great, I say retiree. He's retiring, I suppose, forced retirement guy. He's gone, but not forgotten by the Demon Army. It suits you, mate.
Oh, yeah, it's good, I think.
Not right now, though. Like,
I've got a big head. So we say to you.
Well, so does Angus.
So, and he cuts the ears out, you're saying.
He does, so he can hear.
That's a bit better, isn't it? So he's got the video of how we actually got the helmet. Because we were down underneath the car park, and I was going, I really want to get one of those helmets. And it was just like
serendipitous,
random.
wasn't it? Yeah.
That have you got that video, Fee?
Brand new, or is that sweaty?
It's not sweet.
It's a newie. There you go, take it.
Nice. I'll put it on the podcast.
Yeah, please do.
Oh, absolutely. See you right. See you guys. This was a nice.
We were just asking for one of those, and it just turns up.
It's a nice touch,
Really
isn't
remarkable, actually.
It is good.
I'm glad I didn't have to wear a
it? It feels
helmet.
weird. Apparently he cut out the ears because he used to hate not being able to hear, which makes sense.
I'm glad I didn't have to wear a helmet. It looked horrendous on me.
That's right. Sylvia was saying, great work by Demon Army. I have my helmet. They are adjustable. Well, not that much. Depends on how big your head is.
No, it was super by the Demon Army, and I think we need to do something special for Gus soon, Angus Brayshaw, for the. I mean, it's a sad story, isn't it? Doesn't get to finish off his. Well, obviously he lived his dream and it finished a bit prematurely.
Yeah.
Sadly for him, but what a great day it was to get the win. What was the best thing other than the win, Barry Laurie? What was the best thing about Melbourne's game? Because we do want to talk about it, and we'll talk about it with Stinger in a little bit. What was the best thing about the play, the players? There was lots to like about it. There was a few things that need to be fixed up. It's early in the season, isn't
Number
it?
27, mate. Number 27 off the half back.
You're talking about
Marty Hall?
Marty Hall's return to football was,
Unreal.
I want to say sensational, but it was really good, wasn't it? He's been fantastic and a really good guy, deserves his shot at it. And it's a really good story. We're talking about it with Jason Taylor last week. There's no, obvious ways into the AFL anymore. Well, there is, but you can be lucky. You can be 27, you can be 25 and be playing really well, and you can get lucky and playing there. So the message there is don't give up hope.
Yeah, we talked about that actually. Jason talked about him, and you talked about him during the week, about his road and how he'd gone back to the VFL and been to different clubs, and then came on, and just everyone played well. Like Tom McDonald played his role across the back.
Tommy was great.
He was really good.
Got the job done. Going to the people here, we can see Stinger's foot. Isn't it a beautiful foot?
That's not Stinger's foot. Is it Stinger's foot? It is.
It
might
is.
be.
There he is.
There it is.
Barry Laurie says the team played as one. Agree with that.
They're like, hurry up. and
David
get him on.
McKenzie, rundown tackles from the new kids. Yeah, Caleb Windsor's rundown tackle was fantastic, wasn't he? He's got some pace for days. And I think the big highlight of the day, and we can move off that and go into these videos that we've got, the standing ovation for Clary. Wasn't that great?
Yeah.
Saw him last night. He was last night I went out to Casey Fields in Cranbourne and that's where our boys train.
Yeah.
You know, not all the time, but they're there. And that's our big training facility there. That's awesome for the NGA Melbourne Academy. My son is in it as a father-son. So is and Andrew Lee and Shelley's son was there. Travis Johnson's son was there, Tigger. So I was hanging out with those guys watching the boys train, and Clary was still there at about 6 o'clock at night working away on things.
Yeah,
so
nice.
he's really dedicated, and it was great to see him hug his coach. Wasn't that great?
Yeah,
and
it was
standing
really
ovation
good.
from the crowd.
Yep, really, really good. And he's a really important player.
Yeah,
and it's really good that he's hopefully back on the straight, and the club's all behind him, and the club trust him, and like every week he turns up and plays like that.
That's what he has to do.
Things are just going to get
Well, I mean, look, and Sting will tell you, and we'll talk about this a bit too, you can lose trust of your players. You've got to really stay straight and narrow, because it's not about you. It's about the club. It's about the 40-odd blokes who are all pulling in the same direction. Step out of line. You're really letting everybody down, and that can't be done.
George's comment, that had me wondering as well, because the MCG said they had this green initiative, and they said, go green. And the green initiative was catch a train to the game. Like it had nothing to do with them and what they were doing at the stadium. And 2 minutes later, they turned the lights on, and it's 35 degrees and it's bright sunny. You need your sunglasses. And Georgia says, why the hell were the lights on during the match? I was thinking the same thing.
They're showing off. Look, we've got really good lights. Speaking of really good, you got some good footage, I think.
I did. Of what do you want to see going into? What does everyone else want to see? You want to see going down to the change rooms, or you want to see where Robbo goes in between the like 2 seconds of work he does on the ground? Wait till you see the footage of him swanning around. It's really good. But
you gonna do it now, or you? Gonna...
Yeah, show one of them. I think we should show the. You want to show that? I think we should go down to Robbo's change rooms.
Please.
Let's have a look at that.
Photographers and security guards are down in here. It's just a quiet spot to go if you've been standing up a bit. I like to watch the game live, but it's also nice to just sit down and take a break.
You were looking for the pies.
This is the old change rooms. Back before the new stadium was built, this is where we got changed. Down in there. In that interim year when the Great Southern Stand, the Olympic stand was knocked down, we had our old Melbourne change rooms over there. We shifted over into here. Now everything's done over in the new stand. Sit down. This is why I like it here the best.
There it is. There it is, the pies.
Yeah. Who ate all the pies?
You ate them.
Well, I deserved it. I work hard.
You hunted down there, gave a tour like we cared, and then went straight for the 4 and 20s. And you went like, you know what was weird about that video? It looked like you opened the top drawer and they weren't there.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Didn't it? It looked like you opened it and then you went second drawer, third drawer, fourth drawer, and your face was just like, it's not there.
There's none left.
And then you opened the top one and you were like a kid in a candy store.
Shut up, Davo. And you know what the game was? Like
got
we
pies,
cared. No one cares, bro, mate. But anyway, I typically stand in the race because I watch the game, but then it was hot.
It was hot and there was air conditioning. And the other security guard down there, he kept saying stuff like, he gets on his walkie-talkie and he'd go like 5 minutes to go, 5 minutes to go. Yeah. And he'd turn around to me and he'd go, how long to go? And I go, it's like 9 minutes, mate. Yeah. Like, why are you telling everyone it's 5? And he just sat there eating pies.
Because he couldn't be bothered getting up to get closer to see actually how long there was to go.
That's the job.
He's letting all the security guards know.
Should we get Stinger on?
I absolutely think so.
Enough talking us shit about pies. Like, how long is that going to go on for? Why were you late out of interest? Like, we were supposed to do this at 6:30 so we didn't interrupt the other game and people could watch the other game, but you turned up with a pizza.
Yeah, I went to get you a pizza. That's what I was late.
You didn't get it for me.
Yes, I did.
You ate half of it when you got here.
If it was for me, I would have got pies. No, I got your pizza. And look, life gets busy, all right? I was... tear ass around like a blue ass. Stephen Tingay, put up those highlights, please.
Trying to get the hand pass away, blanketed there by the diving Tingay. Rance, back comes Tingay though. Well done, young man. Tingay from 40 metres. It deserves a goal. I think it's going to go for him too. Oh, what an inspirational goal.
Schwartz. Oh, here's Glenn Lovett. A chance here for Melbourne. Lovell takes front position now at the back. The ball hits the deck. Up the ground, it's a goal. Tingay, a goal.
Back in the middle once again. A point the difference, favouring Melbourne. Oh, the bounce. Not a good one on that occasion for the Bombers. Carl takes it. Up to half forward. Road marks in front of his eyes. Peter Road has Tingay loose. He uses him. Stephen Tingay can run on. Have a shot from 50. Simons gets him late. It's coming back. What a goal!
What about some of the players that you played with? Some superstars out there, mate. Back when you had flowing blonde locks.
What?
Back when you had long hair. Now you've got flowing grey hairs. You were a superstar too. I'm just saying.
You categorise me down the bottom of that. I'm disappointed. No. Off the bat.
Rhodey, Darren Cow. So who else was in those? There was some really. It was a football. That was a great time, Davo. I love that era of football.
Yeah, same.
The 90s.
That was brutal.
It was brutal football, mate.
It's changed.
Yeah.
How much has it changed? I mean, you're a great winger. And I'll quickly just say this. When I first came to the Melbourne Football Club, Stinger was at the height, 94, 95, height of his sort of career, and playing on the wing there, and that he owned it. Other clubs wanted him. I learnt so much from Stinger about the game of football in this is what it is. It's all about coaches. It's all about getting the great advice. I learned so much from this guy about playing football in one training session. It was unbelievable. The wing you made your own, mate. Tell us about your football development through to the Melbourne Football Club.
I hated playing on the wing.
Did you?
Really? I hated it, yeah. I was just this little kid from the Goulburn Valley and I never got in any team. Well, as you take it so personally when you're young, you think you don't get in any teams at all.
Yeah.
And then I got to under 15s and there was one coach that said, no, I think he can actually play all right. I just needed one guy to give me a cuddle at that age and I was off and racing and just played footy because I loved it, but I hated the wing. I used to think you just sat there and got a burnt roof of the mouth was watching it go
the ball
from
go.
centre back, centre forward.
Where did you want to play?
I love the centre. I played a little bit of Caltex Cup, a little bit in the middle on the ball and a little bit of half forward. So I was just a small kid. I was 67 kilos. So it took a long time to put on some muscle and be able to be, I suppose, intimidating back in those days.
The synergies were amazing, really, though. When you first got to the club, you were the skinny kid from Shepparton, wearing the number 2 Guernsey. You didn't straight away get the number 2 Guernsey, but you got it. And the guy before you who wore number 2 was quite skinny as well, wasn't he?
He went okay too, I think. He started with 52, which I started with.
Did really?
Yeah, Tulip, yep.
Oh, be stuffed.
Yeah, and then I had 15 in the middle, which you saw on the highlights.
Yes,
and then I took 2. And it's a funny story, that one, where we were at the jumper presentation at the MCG, and I'd been given 15, and I'd had a bit of bad luck. I'd been accidentally in a freak accident pushed through the glass window.
Yeah.
And I just didn't have a lot of luck. So that night I'm talking to Robbie and he was an employee of the footy club. And he just goes, it's just a number. Why doesn't someone just wear it? Take the pressure off. What's the big deal? I go,
Oh, well.
He goes, why wouldn't you? And so I'd had to go to the board and it went to the
Really?
board. And the scariest day of my life was having to put it on. I remember seeing the program and coming into the game at the MCG and going, holy shit, I'm going to wear that number and actually do it proud. Like he played, 278 games or whatever it was.
Yeah, he did.
And a record at the time. And I remember Alan Henderson, who we've just gone to, God bless him, Ronnie May, who is the property steward's funeral on Monday. And then Robbo mentioned in his speech about Alan Henderson. And they basically control the property room with an iron fist. And I remember going up to get my jumper and Hendo virtually going, there you go, like that. And God bless him, but he's had this fantastic player, Robbie Flower, who's played for Victoria so many times. It was like, what
this
the fuck
punk.
are you doing getting this jumper? So I wore the warm-up top right up until the last second because I thought, I'm actually intimidated trying to wear it, and I just threw it off. And then once I got to play, it was okay. But it was a big deal.
I felt that same pressure because Phil Gilbert had 24 before me.
Leaky beverage.
Yeah, I'm joking. There's a lot of good players who wore 24, but none. Maybe 31, obviously, is a big number 2, but I feel like number 2, number 11, number 31. Number 2 is right up there as the premier jumper, and it was a big, hard act to follow, Robbie Flower.
I think I was the scapegoat, so everyone else after that could at least wear it without too many dramas.
Well, Jackie Clark says you did it proud, mate, and I think he really did. So Nathan Jones, who takes the number 2 Guernsey after you, is that right? Or was this...
Stephen Armstrong.
That's right, Stevie Armstrong.
And he went and played in a premiership number 35 for the West Coast Eagles.
West Coast Eagles.
2006.
No, I think Nathan Jones. I invited Army to my wedding because he was dating my sister at the time. Invited him, and he's just won a premiership with the West Coast Eagles. And I invited Neil Danaher and the coaching staff as well. What do you think Stephen Armstrong wore to the to the wedding?
A medal,
a premiership medal. Hilarious.
Yeah.
But Stinger, it's great to have you on the show, mate. I really wanted to talk to you a lot about your day, and I want questions from the floor here, guys, because we've got a lot of old Melbourne supporters here. I don't mean you're old, guys. I don't mean you're old. I'm just saying that you've supported for a long time.
Based on the footage we were watching earlier, it's not that long ago, but it does look like...
I was late 80s too.
Yeah, television has changed.
Yeah. I was 80s, 90s, and then just snuck into 2000s. So
God. Wow. Well... There you go.
Are you superstitious just on the jumper thing? I was really interested.
As in what direction?
Like, are you superstitious in any way before a game or because of that number, or was it really just the Robbie Fowler?
Flower.
Yeah, the flower presence for a little bit. But after that, he just said, just do what you got to do. Everyone's different. And I had a fairly good relationship with Tulip, but a lot of others did have a closer relationship. I remember Nathan Jones had a fantastic relationship with him, but he just let me do my thing. I didn't feel pressure after that. He was fantastic.
Yeah.
He goes, it's just a number. But
it is.
The first day was
it's intimidating because it's you sort of feel the weight of that number. But anyway, you move on from that and you go to the wing and. I don't know, the pace along the wing for you and that streaming blonde hair out the back, I suppose, you just made it your own. You really worked into that role and it made it yours.
Yeah, I was very lucky early on that John Northey put me in a role where I tagged a lot of players. Well, not a lot, but once you get better, they tag you. So that's what you hope for. But you learn the game. I played on Wayne Swash and then eventually you get locked down by Martin Pikes and the Blanket Blakey and all these players, Simon Tregenza, and they're trying to play on you and you learn how to play and be more offensive than defensive. But it's a shocking... I didn't like the position, but I suppose I got to have free reign. When Barmy came on board after John Northey, we had a fairly good midfield and a fairly good team. So you virtually played on ball, really. Yeah. It probably looked like I just had to be in the right position at the right time. He gave us the free licence the whole time.
I reckon the players that we've got now that are playing on our wing do it really well, and you'd probably sit back and watch them and go, well, Caleb Wins is a young kid that's coming through there at the moment. Obviously, Ed's played out on the wing. We had Angus playing the wing a fair bit. How do you rate those guys at that position, and how do you sort of go, well, okay, that's how I did it. How are they doing? What are they doing differently? Are they doing it the same? It's one of those positions you sort of go, how do you play the wing? Because like you say, doing this a lot, watching the ball go back and forth. The forward line, it's getting kicked to you. The back line, you're playing on someone. But what is the wing?
You start your career being more defensive, and then you learn to become offensive, and that's how you basically play. That's how you play your game. We used to always line up on defensive side, and if you ever got caught on the offensive side, and then they got offensive and were very damaging, that's where all the problems started. Yeah. So it's very reactive until you become confident in your own game. Yeah. It's always playing on someone until you, I suppose you develop and get that experience to be able to play off and read at the right time. I played on Matera and Mainwaring, who
superstars.
One's really fast, like a greyhound, and the other one just knew how to, I say this nicely, cheat and read the play really well, Mainwaring. And I was probably inexperienced, and I would go into the football, and then you'd be looking around and they're taking off down the wing because that's such a good team around them.
Who's your best opponent? Who's your hardest opponent that you've played against?
Oh, I love playing on Matera. He's pretty fast and furious, but I played on a number of great players. Dean Anderson, and then there was Tregenza and Ricky Olorenshaw. I played on the wing a lot of times on Riccardi. I played in a night game on Gary Ablett on the wing.
Wow.
Gary Ablett Senior. I remember saying something to him and he'd get me in a headlock and he goes, well, you're not going anywhere. And I was like a little whippet. I go, yeah, okay. Okay, mate. That sounds pretty right.
That's what I got with Warside when I first lined up on him. Those Eagles, they were very intimidating. I had a coffee catch up with Plough, Terry Wallace, the other day, and I asked him the question, who's the greatest wingman of all time? Because it was one of this video that we were doing, and he said Peter Matera was his pick as the best wingman he'd ever seen.
We kicked 5 in the grand final when they won it. So
It's pretty much the second half.
Michael Long was pretty good.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
When he played on the wing.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, well, your career, mate, you started off like that skinny kid, but then you developed yourself. You really became that professional footballer before football was professional. I reckon around about 94, 95, even up to 97, football was amateur, sort of professional but amateur. You still could work during the day, would train in the morning, would train in the afternoon. It was around about 98, 99 where it became full-time all day long, didn't it?
Yeah, I think we went what was classified at the time, which is a bit of an oxymoron, full-time, part-time. And Barmy used to let us work in the morning and then we come to training at lunchtime. Yep. And we do game plan and then all the practical stuff and carry it out on the ground when we train. But I worked as a curator for 8.5 years. But I would go and start swimming at Footscray with a guy named Buddy Portier, who was the VIS swim coach at 5 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
Wow.
So pre-season was 3 days at 5 a.m. and the others were at the gym at 5 a.m.
So you were putting in your own hours?
Yeah, and I had a hip deformity, dysplasia, so I didn't run. For a running game, I was very lucky because I had a guy named Chris Jones who, very experienced, knew that I wasn't going to be able to do the pre-seasons or else I wouldn't have lasted. So I lasted 13 years and it was probably all to him because he was able to manage me pre-season where I spent all my time on the bike and in the pool and in the gym. Yeah. And then for the amount of time of under load with such an injury, I was very, very lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it sort of hurt you in the long run though, didn't it? The hamstring started to really tighten up around that hip and
and falling through a glass window didn't
really help.
That doesn't help.
Yeah.
And then you get stress fractures through your back because your pelvis and one leg's been shorter than the other. So eventually it does catch up with you.
Tell us a bit about that incident because you've told me, and I reckon people would love to hear it from the horse's mouth, how horrendous it was.
Yeah, they say I probably should have died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of blood.
Yeah, a lot of blood. I severed the right thigh and cut the nerve in my hand. And so that was a major concern where for 3 months that was sewn up. And Graham Southwick, who's a fantastic plastic surgeon, Melbourne supporter, he fixed me so I was actually able to get some muscle back. But I look back on it and go, no, it was just a freak accident, walking along the footpath and mucking around with my girlfriend at the time. And then she accidentally bumped me and I fell through a big plate glass door and I thought nothing happened.
Yeah, you wouldn't have felt it.
No, it just sliced me, So,
oh, my God.
How old were you when that happened?
20. So I played every game of that year. I played 24 games and then all of a sudden you're in the off-season and you don't think you're going to either live or play a game of footy again. Yeah. I think I might have played 12 or 15 the next year.
Yeah. So you missed a few games early in the season for that one?
Missed a few and then basically around 21, 22 it started to, a few niggles started to come a little bit. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you know, as selfish as this sounds, Davo, his misery with his hip dysplasia probably helped people like me in this really weird roundabout kind of way.
This is starting to get weird.
This is weird.
Well, because you just heard about how he had to find other avenues to get fit because he wasn't able to run as much. So we were sitting there watching this guy get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go swim, all these Ks, buying bikes, doing this. So this professional attitude, you sort of go, well, maybe I should be doing all these extra things. And it's not just the work that they're giving us, but really this guy's just trying to make sure he gets everything out of his body. So, and it flowed on from there. We all just like, okay, this is what we got to do. So that early 2000, 98, 99, 2000, we were coming through watching this guy and your teammates that were your age were probably feeding off that as well and doing other outside what do they call it? Personal development stuff.
Yeah.
To improve their their skills or their fitness or whatever.
I'm probably guilty a bit of overtraining though. That's probably they didn't have the load statistics that they do now. And I've been in the industry as strength and conditioning coach where they have loads and numbers and all kinds of stuff that they actually can have all those warning signs where something's going to happen to an older player or a younger player.
How much were you training? Like, give us a week of like training, what you would do when you consider yourself to be doing too much.
Minimum would have been 3 days at the pool of 3Ks, so each morning. So there's 9. This is taking into context, I'm a footballer.
Yep.
Probably 3 days in the gym, and then on top of that, we rode our bikes in the afternoon, and then we'd go to training and do the skill stuff. And then Saturday, you'd go, oh, well, everyone else has done that. This is the stupid mentality of me. I go, well, what am I going to do as extra? So I'd go down to the Richmond pool and punch out 3 or 4 Ks in the pool.
So you would just keep your competitive mode was, if I'm fitter than everyone, I can compete better.
Yeah. And when I'd get injured, I'd work it back from, okay, in season. I remember grabbing Travis Johnson one time and go, what's your diary like? And I go, I'm going to be out for 3 weeks. How long are you out for? And I'd work it back and go, righto, the last week's a taper, and I would actually have a mini pre-season. And then you'd always, if they put you straight back in, you'd be fitter again than who was playing.
Unreal, isn't it?
So I thought you were going to say that he did you a favour because he didn't bring the professionalism because he wasn't training for a bit, so he didn't make you look so bad.
No. And another guy, Nathan Brown, was really good at this too. He was always trying to find another way to make sure his body was because his body would break down. Now Stinger knew he had this hip issue, and obviously the slice and dice action on his thigh as well didn't help things, as he said. So he was always trying to find. But we're doing all the full training and going, well, this is what you have to be an AFL player to get the best out of yourself. And like he says, the load management now is off the chain. Like they've got computers on everything. They've got the GPS on the back. They've got a lot more than that to make sure, they're even monitoring. They've got people monitoring how fast they're actually running at training. Yeah. And if they're in too high a percentile of fast running, they've got to go out and tap them on the shoulder and say, just pull it back for this next 10 minutes, you're going too fast. Yeah. Or conversely, the other way, and you would get this tap, you're going too slow.
I can't tell this one story. So when I did work experience, I did work experience when I was in, it was 98, 99 maybe, with Glenn Stewart at the Eagles, and I was doing sports science, and Scott Cummings was the full forward at the Eagles. My job for a term
was to hand out all the steroids.
No, was to watch him the entire time at training and calculate how much he actually ran.
Yeah, right.
Because he wasn't running much.
He wasn't running enough. That's hilarious. No, look, AFL at that time transitioned from this, like Stinger said, you had a job during the day, to this. No, this is your job. You're getting paid well now. You've got to do everything you can to play. And so we started having to live that life. And then you just needed people like Stinger around. And I needed someone like Stinger in my life too, because I'm this kid from Tasmania. And yes, Gary, I'm going to insert myself into the conversation because it's my podcast, mate. You get your own podcast, talk about yourself.
You are your worst enemy in that situation, though.
Yeah.
If it's your job, like Nathan Brown, and I put him in the same category, he had a chronic soft tissue injury. But if you're turning up, I always say this to people, when they go, oh, footballers are overpaid, I go, okay, so you work for the government and you're in the rail, let's put yourself out in front of that train every second and go, I'm going to go to work and get hurt, but then I'm going to recover and do it all again. I go, how many people are going to put their hand up for that? And I'm not 100%. Glorifying it because it's not great, but they're so much better now at monitoring that and now governing the rules around it. But back in those days, that's what you did. And I used to sit there in some of the meetings at strength conditioning and they'd go, why is he injured? And I go, well, you're not meant to run at each other at 30 plus Ks an hour and expect a great result.
Yeah. It's so true.
So it's a collision sport.
Angus Brayshaw, he's going to have problems. And we talk about our mate, Sean Smith, who it's quite difficult to have a conversation with him sometimes because you're talking about something that he should remember, but it's painful for him. He just can't remember these things. And you sort of got to, you go, wow, it really is a brutal game. And I've got my own issues. I whinge all the time about, I've got a lot of issues, but I whinge about my back all the time. But hey, also you needed senior leaders like this guy at the club. Can I tell you a quick story?
Yeah.
This is my second or third year, I reckon, I was living with you in Brighton. And it was fun. It was great times, but there was always a reality check from this guy because he was like a father figure to me back then because I was so wet behind the ears. I'm like, I come home for training one day. You were injured. You weren't playing in the seniors.
Oh, surprise.
Standard. So I'm sat down on the couch and you're like, what's wrong? I said, Danners hasn't picked me again. Pissed off. I'm bloody doing this and I'm bloody doing that. I kicked 3 goals on the weekend, wide eye in the side. And Stinger looks at me and goes, you're kidding yourself. Steadpan, you're kidding yourself, mate. Have you done an extra weight session? Have you gone down there and asked them, can I have another 100 shots on goal? Can I do this? Can I do that? What else can I do? Or are you just expecting the game because you're getting a kick? And I was just like, okay, he's probably right. And
that's like
it
a tough
changed
older
me.
brother mentality.
It was awesome. And I don't have a brother. So perfect. Just what I needed. Slap. And I go to training and I put my head down and it was all about the work then. Which is brilliant. So, I was really lucky to have someone like Stinger. We all were.
What was he like, though? Let's turn it
No,
around.
let's move on. We got,
what he was like to live with.
It was like he had those headphones on all the time. He didn't listen to many.
Tell them the story. You can tell them the story about. You might have already told it last time we were on the show, but we can rehash it, can't we?
Yeah.
Well, I was a bit cheeky, wasn't I? I was a bit cheeky. I was living with Paul Hopgood and Stephen Tingay, and it was the middle of pre-season, hot summer, and we're sitting around after. I think we might have been watching the cricket or something.
We
on
can't
the
tell
TV.
the full extent of that, can we?
We can, yeah, absolutely. Go for it. Go for it, mate. Go for it. Tell them the story. It's good. It's good. It's good content.
Is this the story about the spa?
No, hell no.
We blew the spa up for Russell's 21st.
No, not that. This is different. No, I was just getting all a bit smart-assy and uppity and calling Hoppy chubby and calling you old and I'm just a young pup and it was all about me. And he's sitting there just going, you better shut up, mate, or we're going to get you. Me and Hoppy are going to chase you down and get you. Oh, yeah, right, mate. Anyway.
So we ended up, I think, you might have had your shirt off, and we'd played a bit.
No, I did.
So Hoppy goes, who? Basically, we chased Robbo outside down Yule Street, and then back in. The worst move of his career is going back into Yule Street, and we've got our shirts off, and we go.
Hang on. Before that, I went upstairs. You said to me, one more mark out of you, you young man, and we're going to smash you. And I'm like, right. So I walk out of the room, and Stinger's house had one of those intercoms. I've gone upstairs and gone.
The old school.
And I don't know what I said. Yeah, the old school intercom. I don't know what I said. But I heard him going down the hallway at me, up the stairs. And I luckily hid in the middle room and they went into my room and I dashed down the stairs and outside and they chased me and I thought I'm free. But then I'm thinking, now they're going to lock the door.
Yeah, nowhere else to go.
I've got no bed. So anyway, I go back in and they cornered me in the corner. Of course.
And then we just went, do you want to take on 130 kilo bench press or 140? So I go, right,
Hoppy
you go
or Stinger?
first, Hoppy.
Stinger takes his singlet off. He's got the, what Stinger, this is huge. I'm like, I think I'll take Hoppy. And I fought Hoppy for about 5 minutes wrestling and he got me down. Righto, Hoppy gets up, Stinger's turn. And Stinger's fresh as a daisy, massive muscles. I'm like, oh, God, here we go. He lifted me up, I reckon my toes brushed the ceiling. Down on the ground, took the hair out of me. And then they proceeded to do what? Pull my pubic hair out and feed it to me.
We had pinned him down and ripped him out and said, that's the last time you're going to give us any cheek.
And you know something?
Penguin
I
Pete.
never did. I never said another cheeky word. I ate my own pubes, people.
That's what happens.
That's right.
That's lesson time.
It's instant feedback at football clubs, isn't it?
Feedback, literally.
I learned a valuable lesson.
I was a good boy from that point on. Oh, Stinger, you're always the fit guy, but you're still working fitness now. Tell us a bit about what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm just I say but I'm a personal trainer. So I've been in the strength and conditioning industry for a while. I worked at a couple of clubs and then the last probably 14, 15, 16 years I've just been a personal trainer. Since the pandemic, I've been in my garage for the last 4 years, which has been fantastic.
Yep.
Which sounds dodgy in itself.
You can come out now, Yeah.
So some people come and see me occasionally in the garage.
You're like those old soldiers that come out of the Vietnamese jungle going, is the war still going 30 years later?
I'll be John Rambo.
Oh, yeah. Stinger, you were John Rambo. And look, the questions here, Dave, they're going for
Some
you.
good ones.
Who had the better rig, Stinger or Beamer? Maloney. Absolutely Stephen Tingay. Come on. Brent Maloney, not a bad rig, but Stinger had the. You go back to the Herald Sun, Michael Dodge. I don't know if that's around anymore, that photo, but that was
we
an
tried
absolute
to find
ripper.
it. Couldn't find it.
It's just,
Did you get it taken down?
I'll tell you.
I didn't, but I haven't got it on my screensaver either. But it's not, I've got it in the phone somewhere.
We try to find it. It's gone. For all the girls out there, you want to find a great photo. It was on the back page of the Herald Sun.
I'm still waiting on the finances to change hands there. From
Yeah.
Dodgy. He hasn't given me anything.
said
Surely he's got some royalties out of that.
I was upstairs in my bedroom when I was living with Stinger. I knew that Michael Dodge was coming around from the Herald Sun and he was going to get him to do a photo shoot. I had no idea to what extent, though. Anyway,
I had no idea.
No, you didn't. He posed the question and Stinger said, "Oh, okay." I look out on my window on the second story and on the roof, all I see is Stinger doing the pose, Adonis pose, so that only you could see his thigh, you couldn't see his bits, but I could see his bits.
It was cold. It was very cold up there.
You're just one of those double take things as I'm reading the book.
Duct tape, Robbo coming out a little bit of What about a little bit of that?
The next photo, I like the next photo though, because you would have been to BMXs, weren't you, when you were growing up in
Yeah, I raced BMX bikes and did championships and all that sort of stuff, yeah.
Cool. Really cool. Everyone forgets we had a life before football.
Yeah.
Oh, I gave up footy for a while to race BMX bikes.
Did you?
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, I did Vic titles and Australian titles and things. And then a couple of my close mates went over and won world titles.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like you made the right choice with football though, because you were pretty bloody good.
16 operations later, do you think so?
Yeah, well.
No,
16?
Yeah. No, we've all got a history of,
You probably would have rode your BMX into a wall or something and smashed yourself
at least
there.
20 in a BMX bike.
This is a good question for you. Who did you follow when you were a kid? Which club?
My father was coached by Tom Hafey for Shepparton. Mm-hmm. So I followed Richmond for a while, and then Tom Hafey, and I had a close mate, and you just follow your mates when you're 5 or 6, and his father knew Tom Hafey as well. And we both went to Collingwood, and then I think he might have gone to Sydney after that, but I stayed with Collingwood. So I was in the Melbourne development squad, and when I got drafted, I was basically barracking for Collingwood, but I was in the Melbourne zone at the time, but I was the second year of the draft, so I could have gone anywhere.
Oh, wow. Any draft stories? How did you feel when you got drafted?
It's a bit surreal. I don't even know whether you had to nominate or what happened back then. I got a phone call, a very brief one from Hawthorn and North Melbourne, but then Melbourne picked me up late in the draft. And Cameron's, I do say that one game changed my life, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I played at Rushworth for the Northeast Caltex. Basically, it was a development squad to get into the team, and John Ahern's, he was asked to go, and then he said, "Why don't you come along?" And I said, "Why would I go? I haven't been in anything in my life." And he goes, "Just come and we'll have a laugh." Well, 15, he goes, "Come and have a few beers." We're probably not going to have any beers, but that's Horse's mentality, and he's one of my closest mates. That's just, he lightened my life a fair bit, which is fantastic, because I can get a bit serious on stuff like that. And when you're at that age, you want to get in things. And he was very tall, and I was probably small and short and skinny little tacker. Anyway, I played on the wing, and Horse was in the ruck, and I can't recall, but I think I might have kicked 7 or something from the wing. Yeah. And on that day, Schwabby, there was 11 scouts there, and they were watching all these young kids, and they were there to see Horse play for, obviously he'd played a couple of games as a 15-year-old for the under-19s, and a guy named Ross Duffy, and then I got introduced to Cameron Schwab, and I think from then on they just watched me for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And we won. Fortunately, we had a fantastic team, and we were champions and premiers in the Shepparton thirds, and they watched me all year, and I came third in the best and fairest as an underage. So that's how it all happened, and I say one game probably changed my life.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you just don't know.
Isn't it funny? Like you talk about, you just initially you needed someone to love you, Was that Melbourne? Was that before? You just needed someone to give you the confidence that you were
that
a
was
good
in
player.
Shepparton.
In Shepparton.
Yeah, playing under 15s, yeah.
And then you just needed that one opportunity to get to the next level, which happens for all of us like that. I think we've got to be really lucky sometimes to get drafted. I mean, obviously there's the top guys at the top end of the draft that will get there. But for the rest of us, I was 68. What number you picked up?
50-something, but I don't even know what the criteria was or how many back then those days because there wasn't as many teams.
Yeah.
So.
Did they call the home phone out of interest when they were ringing you? Because I know you've got a story about when you got drafted.
I've still got the telegram that came. It's on the 11th of the 11th, so Remembrance Day.
Wow.
I'm in year 11 at Shepparton High School, and Mum sent a telegram, and it came from the office at the Shepparton High School, and it says, ring Mum at the shop. And so I've had to go get permission to go out of class and go, what's wrong? Oh, I had no idea. Just been drafted by Melbourne. I rode my BMX bike down to see John Ahern and go, mate, I'm going to play with you in the under-19s, and we're both going to Melbourne next year. Sounded great at the time, but the homesickness as well, which you'd be able to vouch for, is horrendous initially.
Oh, yeah. That was the hardest part. It really was. It doesn't sound like much like you should be able to sacrifice. It wasn't like it is now. It was.
Well, the world's smaller now, isn't it?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
People can connect with each other a lot easier than you could then, which is part of the question of like, how did they contact you? Because it's just like, even somewhere like Shepparton seems like a long way from Melbourne, but now Perth doesn't seem that far.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we had a very modest upbringing and house, and I remember Jim Durnan and Cameron Schwab coming to our house, and we not having an air conditioner or anything, and having, the jug of water out of the fridge with the ice in it, and they're sitting there sweating, and it was over summer, and I'm just going, this is embarrassing, but it's all you know.
Yeah.
You look back on it, you think it's embarrassing, but it's just life as it is.
Absolutely. Question from the floor here, I think it is from Katrina? No, from Nicole Jacobson. Who's Stinger's favourite current Melbourne player? Question without notice.
Yeah, but it's a good one. But who do I like to watch play? I love Bernie Vince when he came. I like people who are skillful both sides. I'm a bit harsh on people who are professional footballers and can't do both sides.
Yeah. He's a very good player. Very good player, Bernie.
Bernie was, yeah. I don't know in current.
Like, did you see Caleb Windsor play on the weekend? What do you think?
Yeah, he moves
real well.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be a good 10-year player for us.
Hopefully we don't become too harsh because he looks laconic.
Yeah.
And that's what Travis Johnson was like. Everyone was really harsh and thought he never tried. But everyone's different.
Who's the most talented player you played with at your time at Melbourne and have seen since? So it doesn't have to be who you played with, probably will be. But we've had some talent through this football club. Who's the best that you've seen?
I'm probably biased because I was his mentor for 17 years, which probably is good and bad. Travis. Yeah.
He was a superstar, wasn't he?
Sometimes the ball didn't float correctly on his foot, but he knew how to get it to A and B. His precision with that was amazing.
It was. I would be leading to Travis Johnson, and you'd sort of go, check it, and he'd put it, and he'd be like, what's that? It's not, and then he'd be like, oh, thank you, perfect kick.
Yeah.
And it was away from this person that was here, and this person that was here. It was put in the right spot, and you sort of go, and you think about that in the game, and you go, wow, that was a really good kick that he just kicked to me as you're having a shot for goal.
I've got a real funny story. I don't know if I'm repeating from last time, but
go for it.
I'd been injured for a long time, and I came back to play in '98, and we're playing at Waverley, and Travis stayed with me a little bit, and we're trying to get him into, this is how footballers do footy, and this is how they do life. And Trav was staying in my spare room because he wasn't old enough to drive at that stage. And I go to wake him up. There's no sheet on the bed. There's no cover on the doona. He hardly had a pillow. And I'm all eager and going, I've got to get to the game, mate. It's my comeback game. And I was going to sit on the pine for the first half. Anyway, he's the number one draft choice. He goes, what's the weather like? I go, it's drizzling a little bit. Yeah, it's going to be ordinary. And then he goes, do you want to not go? And I go, what? He went out and had 27 touches like it was a dry day.
Oh, my God.
It was hilarious. Do you want to not go? And I was like in shock going, here I am going, I'm coming back. I'm going to be better than ever. And he goes, do you want to not go? I went,
Travis was.
How is that a choice?
Read the room.
He still is like that, Travis. He's the kind of guy that he doesn't follow the. the normal curve that we all follow. He doesn't respond necessarily to the hard line, like the hard line coach. So we were down in Phillip Island one day, and I'm going to swear here because he swore, so get ready, kids. There, we Phillip Island for a camp. We're there for 4 days, and we had this brutal sort of army sort of guy come in, and he would rah at us for 4 days, getting us up at all hours during the night. So 1 o'clock in the morning, he'd come in and wake us all up with, banging on the pot. Right, we're going for a run, and we'd be getting up in our, jocks and just running down the road for half an hour and then back to bed. And that's how it went for 4 days. And on the last day, we thought we were going to get a nice, easy day. This big fella walks in. For argument's sake, I don't remember his name. Let's just say his name was, Jono. Well, I'm going to say that because Travis Johnson's the other guy. Let's say Smitty. He goes, right, boys, up. We're going for a run. It's 5:30 in the morning. Get up. And there's deathly silence as we're all sort of just going, oh, God. And then you hear Travis Johnson yell out from somewhere, from some room, hey, Smitty. He goes, yeah. He goes, get fucked. Perfect timing. Anyway, we're going to get Travis on the show in a couple of weeks.
I was going to say, how did you go trying to get him on the show?
He lied. He gave me a right grin because he doesn't like doing media. But I said, no, you're doing it for me. My old teammate, you're jumping on. We've got Brad Green next week. I think we've got Travis Johnson after that. So
Fantastic. I'll listen in.
Yeah, make sure you do because I'm
Not
sure
for too long.
We should get you back in.
Yeah,
That'd
well,
be
yeah.
good.
That would be a show.
That would be really good.
Wow. We do have to move on because there is a football game going on tonight, and this
who gives a shit.
Yeah, who cares about that?
Someone said give your personal training a plug. What's are you full up? Do you
Tingay personal exercise. I do I train a couple of young kids from private school as well. So the strength and conditioning and the adolescent, I call it adolescent athlete stuff, is real important to me now as I discover what we probably went through. And we used to do all the statistics and wonder how kids, they come to footy clubs at the start of pre-season and then they're running around with elite athletes who have been there 8 and 10 years. No wonder they break down. So no one actually puts the foundation in. Well, they do, but it's probably different.
Mm.
Yeah, and kids are frustrated because they want to just keep playing, but they don't know the recovery curve and all the conditioning and the development that goes, and then they're growing at the same time. Yep. 13, 14, 15-year-old kids. And then, I think that becomes very a disgruntled environment for kids who, when some of their mates are probably physically able and then they're not, and they've got no tools at all. So I'm working with a couple of young kids at the moment, and it's all personal, one-on-one most of the time, or 2-on-1, and it's all footy related and strength and conditioning, and it's basics. But they seem to miss that somewhere along the line, or they can't do it in a environment where it's personal enough to be able to identify some things.
How are you keeping fit these days? Because you're looking pretty good. Are you riding? Are you swimming? You're running?
I go through phases. I've had a hip replacement, so sometimes I go through phases where I'll do 30 Ks on the treadmill a week, and then I'm just walking and doing weights at the moment. But I sit around 82 kegs, which is probably about 5 lighter than what I played. I was around 85, 87. I probably got a bit heavy in the end, which is where I sort of look back on and go, I probably should have been a little bit more selfish for myself, or someone, I wish I had someone pull me up a little bit. But if that's a problem, then I'm guilty of it. But I sit around 82, and I do weights are the key for me, or for a lot of people that I train. It's all about resistance and keeping your metabolic rate up, and therefore you burn more fat. So that's the basic of it.
Do you take referrals? I know a former Melbourne forward who goes by the name of Hollywood that might be interested in some personal training.
Come on now, hang on a second. There's about 10 people on the chat that are really interested as well. We'll get back to you.
I'm just going by the pies and the pizza. That's all I was referring to.
Yeah, we used to call that sanity food, didn't we?
Yeah, you have to have a sanity day for sure.
Yeah.
Actually, can I ask, when we went down to the change rooms, Cozzy had a pizza.
Yes. Well,
where did that
Stinger,
come
you answer that one.
Where does the food come from?
Carbohydrates with that. Yeah, the most important time is 30 minutes after you exercise. So he's just done the right thing, and salt and sugar and carbohydrates.
And are they ordering those pizzas into the change rooms?
They would have, yeah. I remember actually when I was later in my career and we were playing in the twos over at Punt Road, and then the young guys were going over to the senior game. I had my food and I'd go, this is not right. And Ronnie Mather, God bless him, And the fitness staff at the time probably hated me for it, but I went, why haven't we got proper food or bags associated with what each player needs, or at least some type of nutrients? They're going over eating chips and
getting something
and
in the
hot
MCG.
dogs and, those rubber dogs that hang out of buns.
Nothing else to eat back then.
last season.
They didn't have the choices back then like they've got now either, did they?
Yeah, they used to, pack and then Subway came on board for a while, I think, and so it's super, super important.
It is really quite difficult, and I reckon a lot of people out there are just uneducated about all this sort of stuff, and just need somebody to help them. It's like anything really with our football back in the day. You just need someone to just show some care and give you that information.
I reckon there's a big issue with past players as well. We learn one way, and then we don't know another way. So I've been lucky because I've been in the industry and been able to work it out myself. But we learn to carbo load, and they say it doesn't matter whether it's complex carbs or refined and all that sort of stuff that they go on about. And then you get to the end of your career and you're still doing the same thing because you think that's right.
Yeah. No.
But you're not burning it off. It's not the fuel specific for what you do now. So I sound like I'm preaching, but
no.
It's important, and especially with diabetes and all the health stuff that's going around.
What about whiskey and gin?
When I first came in, I wasn't sure about that.
But there was pizza on the table as well.
We run a very strict diet here at the Very Melbourne Podcast.
Very professional.
Very, very strict.
Well,
out of those two, I'd go for the gin.
You go for the gin?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a little bit
there's
healthier.
none left.
It's
I'm a vodka drinker myself, but it's all calorie related.
vodka and water.
We'll have to hit up Non-Such and see if we can get some.
Hey,
can I do one shout out? A lot of people have named their animals after you. Like so many people on here have gone, name my dog Stinger, name my dog. And I got a message from a mate of mine, Ian, this morning, and he's like, name my dog Stinger. And so you're popular.
Well, I had which is just recent. I met a guy that I'd kicked the footy with when I played in Perth, and Dave was only 5 or something. I stayed at a mate's house all the time, and he's become a member of the Melbourne Footy Club and all that. So I went to a wedding recently, and he goes, "Remember when I had 2 birds and they were 2 budgies and they were called Hoppy and Stinger?" So I said, "Which one died first?"
I was going to say, I didn't tell you what my mate said afterwards. He goes, "Unfortunately, Stinger passed away. But I've got Gorney now."
So I had someone that had a cow named after me. Cow? Jeez. Stinger, you had Neil Baum when you first got to the club, is that right? Or you had Swoop? Swoop first?
Swoop and all the, yep. I had Alan Jarrett in the under-19s. He was fantastic.
Right. So all of those coaches, go through them, difference in style, and you finish up with Neil Danaher.
Well, Alan Jarrett under-19s was very instructional, and I won't say he was simple, but for our age group, it was simple and effective.
Yep.
Great for me to learn.
Did you win a premiership under-19s?
Nah.
I think a different era.
Yeah. And then John Northey was us against them. We were always classified as the underdogs.
Yep.
Always against Hawthorn and Essendon, who were the powerhouses in mid-80s and then late 80s. And then Neil Baum. Neil Baum was probably too relaxed to be a footy coach, I reckon. He's the best bloke in the world. And I sat in the box a couple of times and he was going to rip people's heads off, and then he'd go and address the players, and it was like he was going to give them a pat. Like,
the cuddle.
What are you doing, Barmy? You've just nearly ripped off every assistant coach as well as us and saying, "Don't you mention any of this shit I've been saying in the box." And he gets down there and he's got all the empathy in the world because he's been there and done it.
But are coaches like that now? Have they changed?
I think they are.
Yeah, I think the negative side, and this is not a slide on the game or all the previous coaches, but we were always going into team meetings that were always concentrating on our negatives. Now it's all the positives. It can affect you in the long run that you just keep concentrating on negatives. And that's why Barming was so refreshing after an us against them, because we were always talking about how good the opposition was and how to stop them, where, hey, hang on, we're actually all right too.
I really like what you're saying there, because you don't think about that, do you? Early days, and being blokes in Australia through the 80s, even the 90s, it was all about be hard, be tough, cop it and move on. Like, your feedback was always negative and you needed to be strong to fight through that and then use it against them, sort of thing. Now it's the complete opposite, isn't it? You talk more, you tell them everything that's good about them, and that positive sort of vibe, I guess, that positivity it's for me, it makes sense. It
Yeah.
kind of does, because if you continually hear negatives and berated like we were, it's got to have a long-term effect. I mean, Neil Danaher wasn't too much like that, but he's an old school bloke.
Yeah.
Absolutely, country boy. So, it was don't do this, don't do that.
The best thing Neil brought in, and Barmy did it a little bit, but Neil was very meticulous on visual feedback. So you'd walk out of the team meeting and you'd get basically a videotape back in those days, and you'd get highlights or who you were going to play on, but you'd at least get some great positives and some great feedback of your own game that was on there as well. So, and that transitioned us into being a bit more positive. But it can carry on into your life being a bit pessimistic and a bit negative from just concentrating on a lot of that. When you're hanging around an environment for 10 years.
Stinger, I want to ask you, and this is a sensitive subject, how did you fight through the negative times for yourself? The injury that you had, obviously everyone knows that the terrible thing that happened to you when you lost your mother after a game of football. How did you get through that time? Because I came to the club, Davo, at a time just after this tragedy for Stinger, and he was still this guy working his ass off to be an AFL footballer and taking in young kids into his home to help them out and be better. How did you find that strength, inner strength, to be that person?
I don't actually know.
It's a great message for people, though, if you do know, if you have got anything. I know it is always hard to bring these things up, but how do you get through that? Because I don't think I've really had much negativity in my life that I've had to really fight through. And still I find it hard to not do for myself.
The first year when you came, I think it was 96, I lost my mum, 97, when you were picked up.
Yeah.
I think just trauma actually fed me the whole time. I wasn't in a very good headspace, to be honest, and it just fed me to have a great pre-season. Unfortunately, I got injured in one of the first couple of games of the year, but I think it feeds you, and I think the fear of failure, but also I hated going to the footy some days. I didn't want to go. I've spoken about this at other functions and now we're in the mental health space. You didn't want to go. People would ask, how's your hamstring or how's your back? And you're in the most negative mindset. You don't, and I probably was an arsehole a couple of times, and I apologise to those people in hindsight, but they don't understand what you're going through every day. You're getting up and you're in pain, and then you're trying to rectify a body that actually provides you with your income, and then you just get down on yourself the whole time. And you can't see the end of the rainbow, really. It's there, but you don't think it's ever going to happen.
Well, it's a wonderful story because for me, you wouldn't have known. And to lose, we lose parents. A lot of people do. But to lose your mother after a game of football in a tragic circumstance like it was, and then to be able, I think, yes, football is a great way to sort of get yourself going. And we talk about this with Clary at the moment, isn't it? Like last year he didn't have football, so he couldn't get himself away from the negativity of it all.
I know you're talking seriously, but I have got a funny story from it because I was in I can laugh about it now, but I was in a real bad headspace. And back in those days, they would put your brand new suit in your locker. And remember, we used to get the chambray shirts that were all in the plastic. Anyway, I think it was Gassy had put the fruit, and I'm sitting there injured and icing up on the floor in the change rooms, and he put all the fruit in my bag. And I'd carried it home, because you get home, you got a watermelon, and you've got fucking 6 apples.
Gassy was the prankster from hell. He'd do that all the time.
So there was this. You were allowed to go where the marketeers had provided fruit and vegetables and all that, and you could just take it after training. So we're very, very fortunate. So I, in my bad headspace on this night, I think I might have injured myself. I've grabbed a tomato and put it in the chambray shirt, in the plastic, and not only left it there, but gave it a little bit of... Anyway, I don't know if Hutchie knows this, but I think it was Hutchie who got up at the change rooms and said, we provide you with this uniform and you're very privileged, and who's the arsehole? And I'm sitting there just like going red. And then I actually went to Danny Corcoran at the time and said, mate, so sorry, I'm in the worst headspace. He goes, don't worry about it. Gassy would have got home with all these tomatoes all over his chambray shirt.
Like, I need a new one.
But I was in the worst headspace. I can laugh at it now, but you look at it and say, how immature was I? But it's just where I was at.
It goes a lot. It speaks a lot to where the Melbourne Football Club was at the time too, because they're getting all uppity about a shirt.
That's what I was thinking. It's a shirt.
We're going to haul them all over the Coles, hot Coles here because one shirt's gone down. We don't have money to buy another shirt for our player. Gassy deserved that. Come on, mate. You've got to get over it.
Yeah. Well, talking of footy clubs and not being able to afford anything, Simon Johnson, I went to Ronnie's funeral the other day with, was telling stories how they had the shavers out of guys' razors and taken off the Canterbury logo because they were too big on the shorts, and then they were scraping it off because they couldn't go out with that advertisement because it was too big.
We had so much of that stuff. It was just a
badges
joke.
sewn on from probably Ladies in Sunshine. And
Yeah. The night before a game, we were getting our gear. I remember getting our gear, our trackies and all that with the new sponsors on it, the day of a game in the plastic at our hotel door because we were playing interstate. They were all in the corridor. So you go outside, there's my gear, and put the gear on and go to the game.
Wow.
Unbelievable. We were a bit of a basket case back then, Melbourne Football Club. But we had some good times through the early 90s.
Oh, mate, amazing.
And the early 90s, you've got to talk about it. Like, what a team you guys were. 94, 93, 90 was a good year.
Yeah.
Chock full of talent.
Played in a couple of prelim finals, 94 and 98.
Yeah.
Yeah. We should have was the first time they ever had it. 94 when we had a fantastic team. We went over to Perth too many days early. We went on a Wednesday and we played on a Saturday. Yeah. Guys were going and watching films for 2 films a day and sitting on their ass and doing nothing compared to what they would normally be active. It was just idle time, and it killed us in the end. And it was one of the first interstate, I think, finals in Perth. Mm. So we played at Subiaco or the Wacker, and it was a final.
I would have been there for that.
You would have been there, being a West Coast man. That was some good days for the West Coast Eagles too.
They were pretty good.
Yeah, they were great.
They were gargantuan in the West Coast Eagles, weren't they?
Yeah.
And the fact that they were travelling every second week was an amazing thing too to perform so well. But they were all on steroids, so.
Well, Bluey complains about that, but then having to go over to Subiaco. I mean, you played pretty well in Perth, but that ground was pretty big.
Oh, you always had dry days.
Yeah, it's hot.
Great drainage on those grounds if it ever rained. It was just good football over there.
Yeah, fast footy.
Oh, well, the Demons seemed to play well on the weekend, and we move on to this week's game, and we'll finish up the show.
We'll wrap up.
The Demons played well against the Saints, the Bulldogs. The Saints are playing tonight. The Bulldogs, it was a better outing than the week before. You played a bit at Sydney too. Geez, they're playing well at the moment,
Yeah,
aren't
I played a heap of games at Sydney. I played a half at North Sydney Oval, and then my hamstring's still out at Caroline Springs playing for the Borough. So, I'm so experienced to talk about this. I think the game, the first round, didn't allow Melbourne to play their running fast game, and it was ideal last week, and I think we've found out what Melbourne really can do last week. I don't think they won't have a problem.
Do you reckon top 4?
I'm hoping. I think it's them and GWS for the grand final.
Yeah.
Without being too biased, and I haven't seen too many, but the first 6 rounds, it can go anywhere. But from what I've seen and what I know, they'll be kicking themselves if it's that window everyone's talking about.
Has anyone said it yet? Could it be an all Sydney grand final?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable to consider. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Are we going to allow them to play it at the MCG or not?
That would be amazing.
How to gosh us.
Yeah.
And now it's a
And watch it at
redevelopment.
Fed Square, you bastards.
That's hilarious. All the Melbourne members will still be there. Let's go around the grounds.
We go around the grounds, Fee?
Brought to you by Bang On. What is that, the Friday night
That's the
game?
Friday.
I know, but we just say brought to you by Bang On. Around the grounds, there's a round of football going on. In fact, there's a game going on.
Melbourne 1-4-10, Collingwood 1-8. As we check scores from other grounds, Robbo at the park.
Let's pull up the first. Should we go around the grounds all the way around, or you want to do Melbourne Hawthorn first? Or you want to get that out of the way? Because I think you know what your tip is for this weekend. Melbourne Hawks.
Harry Petty's back, apparently. I'm really excited about this. He's doing the ins. Whether he's playing or not, I'm not 100% sure, but there you go. Melbourne Hawthorn, Melbourne, you'd think.
They love Twilight games.
They do.
We're going to try and do a halftime cross too, everyone. So we're going to jump on if we can pull that off. And because you can't do after the game because you got to go play gig somewhere. But we're going to try and do a halftime little quick 5-minute, and mostly to get people's commentary. Not about us, but more about hearing from the fans. So 100%. If you guys are around at halftime, we'll jump on live.
We will.
Fee, what about the other games? We'll do a real fast one because that was a good conversation. It was good having
Absolutely.
you guys here. Like we did that video last time, but it's just much different when you're together.
You can always learn a lot going backwards and talking about other people's careers, and I really believe that. There's lots to be learned from people's stories. Stinger's story is one of those ones that was all set up, and then there was real troubled times he had to get through, and it was all based around his body that failed him. But he's just had, I think a lot of Melbourne supporters would look at it, and we've got the games up here, but I think a lot of Melbourne supporters would look at Schwartz and Tingay and the guys that we just didn't get the best out of them because their bodies kind of let them down. But that's the reality. That's the way it goes. It happens to a lot of people as well. Sydney, Essendon. Sydney, we think, all around the table. I think that's going to get done. Bulldogs, Suns up at Mars Stadium in Ballarat. The Suns go from the Sunshine State down here, and then they've got to go out to Ballarat. What do you reckon?
The Bulldogs are just made for that.
Yeah, I think so.
That whole ground and the whole setup for that weekend.
Yeah,
surely.
The Dogs will snarl up there, I would have thought. Richmond, Port Adelaide. Port for mine. Same for you blokes.
Port.
Yeah.
Port.
Yeah, and then the Eagles, Giants in the Who Cares Cup.
Definitely the West Coast.
The Who Cares Cup.
They were good for about a minute last week. So nah.
North Freo. Freo were really good last week.
They were very good. Oh, did you hear the story? They they were celebrating so hard because I don't think they've won a game for a long, long time. They left the speaker running overnight. They had music playing constantly over the whole night, and the next day they had to apologise for leaving the speaker blaring. It's like a premiership for them.
That's hilarious.
Weirdos.
North Freo, got to say.
Yeah, Freo for me.
We missed one there, Adelaide, Geelong. Adelaide, this is the interesting game, this one.
This
in
is
Adelaide.
the Friday night. This is the Bang On one. So if you haven't jumped on Bang On yet, go to bangon.io. I'll give you a code to join our league. You'll play against John Worsfold, Bluey McKenna, Robbo, Mo Rance, blah, blah, blah. But I'll give you a code for the Friday night game. It's Margin Matters.
Yes, margin matters. And I would have thought Adelaide at home, although Geelong were pretty good last week, I'm going to go Adelaide by about 18 points.
Adelaide. Yeah.
Adelaide? 18.
18.
How many points? Because I need to know this because I'm going to
I
change
think they're
my
around
tip.
the 34 mark. I can't see Geelong,
After last week.
I know they played okay, but it was a scrappy, shitty game. I can't see them doing it over there.
All right.
That's been a great show. And I've got to say, thanks to none such, our guest has been Stephen Tingay this week, Tasmania's best bourbon whiskey. And now he's a gin drinker, and we will see if we've got some gin over there in the back. But that's yours to take home, mate. That's not a very cheap bottle of whiskey.
No, it's not. We learned that the hard way, didn't we?
And if you'd like to buy a none such whiskey, jump online. There it is. Thank you very much, Fee. None such, sorry, got to get it right. Yeah. None such, and type in the code Robbo for a discount on your none such whiskey.
I'll get charged double.
Yeah, they have the price. If you put in Hollywood, you get it for 50% off.
Robbo all of a sudden it doubles.
Yeah.
Holly Robinson.
$500 a bottle? Must be good.
Well, Sting, I reckon you've got yourself a few clients out of this, if nothing else, mate, well. Because there's a few Melbourne supporters there that need to get fit.
Too many ski slopes and too many pies.
Yes, too many pies. Thanks so much for coming in, Stinger. Great mate of mine, lives around the corner, of course. And if you need the greatest personal trainer of all time, this is the guy. This is the guy you need. Anything else, Dave, we're going to do?
No, we got Greenie on next week. Talk about the Tasmanian Devils.
And then we're going to get
Tasmania
He's a
Devils.
board member too.
Yes,
Jesus.
Devils.
Tasmania Devils. Yes.
Board member of
Melbourne
Footy Club.
I was going to say, I thought you was a board member. I thought you were referencing Tasmania.
No, and I wouldn't be referencing
right.
Travis as a board member.
No. No, he was just a board member of the Melbourne Football.
Racing Victoria or...
Yes.
I mean that with all due respect. I love him.
No, awesome to have you on. It was really good stories. Thanks for
no problem.
Good on you, Singer. That has been a very Melbourne podcast.